The aliens had been watching Earth for decades, operating under the assumption that humanity was primitive and vulnerable. It wasn't arrogance that led them to this conclusion, but the sheer fact that Earth's technology was still in its infancy compared to their own. The HFY, a militaristic species known for their brutal conquests, had long considered Earth a prime target for colonization. Meanwhile, the Quothi, an ancient and intellectual race, viewed humanity as an unpredictable element, potentially dangerous if left unchecked. Their surveillance had been subtle at first, tracking Earth's radio signals, its military movements, and even the fluctuations in its atmosphere. Over time, they had come to understand humanity's reach, a sprawling web of communications, space exploration, and increasingly sophisticated weaponry. It wasn't just the rise of advanced technology that intrigued them. It was the humans' ingenuity, their ability to innovate in the face of overwhelming odds. And that was why the aliens had made their decision. Earth would not be allowed to grow unchecked. But no one had predicted this. It began with a faint anomaly. At first, no one paid it much attention. A slight deviation in a transmission from Earth's largest communication satellite, an odd flicker in a deep space relay. It could have been caused by solar interference, or even a glitch in the algorithms they used to monitor Earth's signals. But then the anomalies increased. A second satellite went silent, then a third. Within hours, all communication from Earth came to a complete halt. The initial assumption among the alien leaders was that something had gone wrong on Earth's end. Maybe an unexpected solar event or a catastrophic failure in their communication infrastructure. After all, the humans had limited space technology, fragile infrastructure compared to the sophisticated systems the aliens had put in place for galactic surveillance. Yet, as the silence continued, even the most cautious observers began to question. The HFY were the first to raise alarm. They had long kept a watchful eye on Earth, believing that the humans' technological advances could one day present a serious threat. Now, Earth's sudden disappearance from their sensors was unnerving. It wasn't just the quiet. It was the absence of any error signals. No distress messages, no technical failures, nothing. Earth had become an enigma. The Council convened immediately, a gathering of the galaxy's most powerful species. The Quothi, the Zkehar, the HFY, and even the elusive Vorthin, all representatives of races who had once assumed they held the upper hand in the galaxy, were now faced with a growing uncertainty. Send a fleet, Tikara, the Zkehar commander, suggested, her voice cold and sharp. We'll know soon enough whether Earth is hiding something, or if it has simply fallen into ruin. An unanimous decision was made. A fleet would be dispatched, not to attack, but to investigate, to uncover whatever had caused this strange, unexplainable event. And as the fleet of warships and scouting vessels prepared for launch, none of the Council members could have foreseen the shock that awaited them. This continuation should maintain the atmosphere of mystery and growing tension, setting the stage for the larger plot. Let me know how you feel about it. CET fleet of alien ships hovered just outside Earth's atmosphere, their sensors probing the planet's surface. In the cold, infinite expanse of space, Earth looked like a quiet jewel, spinning peacefully against the backdrop of distant stars. It should have been a world teeming with life, flashes of electromagnetic radiation, the hum of communications networks, the ever-present signs of human civilization. But now there was nothing. The silence was absolute. The alien ships themselves were a testament to their owner's might. Vast and imposing, their hulls glistened like shards of dark obsidian. The HFY ships, built for intimidation, boasted jagged edges and long, sweeping wings that seemed to cut through space like knives. The Quathy vessels, sleek and minimalist, shimmered with an ethereal, almost ghostly glow. Despite their differences, each species within the coalition had the same purpose now: to uncover the mystery of Earth's sudden disappearance. Tikara, a seasoned Kehar commander, stood in the command deck of her warship, her cold, reptilian eyes scanning the holographic projections of Earth. She was all business now, her thoughts focused entirely on the task at hand. "Status report," she ordered, her voice low and deliberate. One of her officers, a young car technician, tapped a series of controls, and a three-dimensional map of Earth's atmosphere appeared in the air. "No anomalies, Commander. Standard radiation levels. No sign of any defense systems active. No military satellites. No global communication networks. It's as if the planet has simply gone to sleep." Takara narrowed her eyes, contemplating the report. The absence of human activity on such a large scale was unnerving. The sheer scale of the planet, teeming with millions of people, could not be concealed so completely without extraordinary measures. "Prepare to deploy a reconnaissance team. We need to know what's happening on the surface. I want boots on the ground." Below, on Earth's surface, the situation was just as puzzling. The alien fleet's presence in the sky went unnoticed by the planet's surface. There was no reaction, no frantic scramble to intercept. The usual flurry of military activity that would follow the appearance of foreign ships was entirely absent. Tukara's ground team, consisting of several scouts and a pair of Quathy diplomats, was dispatched to the outskirts of Denver, a city known for its technological infrastructure. Their ship descended silently through the atmosphere, landing just outside the city. The area was eerily still. Not a single human figure moved across the barren streets. The usual urban noise, the hum of traffic, distant chatter, and the whir of machines was replaced by a heavy, unnatural quiet. As Tikara's team moved through the city, it became even more disconcerting. Skyscrapers stood tall and intact, yet there were no lights on in the windows. Streets that would normally be filled with cars were empty, save for a few abandoned vehicles, their engines cold. The city's power grid was functioning, yet there was no sign of life. Not a single human sound broke the oppressive silence. "This isn't right," murmured one of her Quathy companions, his tone betraying the unease that was beginning to spread among the group. "It's as if they'd all vanished." Takara's sharp gaze scanned the surroundings. She could feel it too, the sense that something was missing, something crucial. "Stay alert," she ordered. "We are not alone here." They moved deeper into the city, crossing through alleyways and into residential areas. As they approached an old government building, a faint signal flickered on their equipment. A transmission, weak but discernible. It was coming from underground. Tikara motioned for her team to follow. Whatever it was, this would be their first lead. They had to find answers, and this strange silence could no longer be ignored. This continuation builds tension as the alien team explores Earth, heightening the mystery and setting the stage for discovering the human survivors. It also introduces the key question: where are the humans, and what's going on with the planet? Let me know what you think. The underground facility was buried beneath the heart of Denver, hidden deep in the earth as part of an old government initiative. Tikara's team approached the reinforced steel doors cautiously, the faint hum of alien technology echoing in the stillness. The source of the transmission was unmistakable now, a low rhythmic pulse, almost like a heartbeat coming from within the structure. "Seal the perimeter," Tikara ordered, her voice sharp. She motioned for her team to stay alert. The last thing they needed was to walk into an ambush. Her hand hovered near the holstered blaster at her side, ready for anything. With a deep breath, she activated the door's security override. The heavy doors groaned open, revealing a cold, dimly lit hallway that stretched out before them. Inside, the air was thick with dust. Old computers, long outdated by alien standards, sat on workbenches, their screens flickering in the half-light. The faint sound of something mechanical whirring echoed through the labyrinth of corridors. It felt like stepping into a forgotten time, a relic of Earth's past. The team advanced, moving slowly, their footsteps muffled by the concrete floor. The transmission grew stronger as they moved deeper into the complex, until they finally reached a heavy door at the end of the hallway. Tikara paused, her eyes narrowing. The door was thick, reinforced, and sealed with a biolock. It didn't look like it had been opened in decades. She gave a single nod to one of the Kothi diplomats, who stepped forward and began to manipulate the access panel. With a series of complex gestures, the lock clicked, and the door slid open with a mechanical hiss. Inside, the room was more like a command center than a living space. Old computers hummed, and a small group of humans, ragged and disheveled, but alive, sat around a large table. They barely acknowledged the alien presence as Tikara's team entered. Instead, they were focused on a set of screens that displayed fragmented data streams, as if they were monitoring something important. The humans looked like they hadn't seen sunlight in years. Their clothes were a patchwork of military uniforms and civilian attire, and their faces were drawn with exhaustion. But despite their isolation, there was a certain determination in their eyes, an air of survival that could not be extinguished. Tikara stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the group. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice cold but firm. "What is going on here?" A tall man with greying hair, wearing a tattered military jacket, looked up at her. His eyes were sharp, calculating. "I'm Lieutenant Jackson Hale," he said, his voice gravelly from disuse. "We're survivors, but you're not supposed to be here." Tikara's eyes narrowed. Survivors of what? What happened to the rest of Earth? Hale stood up slowly, his movements deliberate. "It's not what you think," he replied. "We've been here for a long time, hiding. Earth's silence. It wasn't an accident. It was deliberate." He gestured to the monitors. "We've been keeping Earth's systems off the grid for decades, protecting it from people like you." The statement landed like a shockwave. Tikara took a step back, her mind racing. This was not a story she had expected to hear. Humanity, at least this small group, had actively hidden from the rest of the galaxy. But why? And how? "Why would you hide?" one of her Kothi companions asked, his voice trembling slightly with confusion. What was the purpose? Hale met their gazes with a hard, unwavering stare. "We knew you were coming," he said. "We've known about your kind for a long time, and when the time came, we prepared." Tikara's mind raced. The humans had known about the alien presence for years, perhaps even before the first signs of extraterrestrial interest. This wasn't just about survival. It was something much bigger. Prepared for what? Hale's lips twisted into a grim smile. For war. This continuation deepens the mystery, revealing that humanity wasn't caught off guard by the aliens, they were prepared for them. It sets up the next stage of the story, where the human survivor's role in the larger conflict becomes clear. Let me know what you think, or if you'd like any adjustments. Lieutenant Jackson Hale's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of a truth that neither Tikara nor her team had anticipated. The silence that had enveloped Earth wasn't some quirk of fate, it was a strategy. A carefully orchestrated plan, decades in the making, to hide Earth from the prying eyes of the galaxy. Kara's mind raced. She had seen military tactics before, intricate, precise, and deadly. But this was different. It was more than just defense. It was a deliberate, coordinated effort to make Earth invisible, undetectable. The question was, how? Hale continued, oblivious to the storm of thoughts swirling around the alien commander. "You think we're just some backward planet, don't you?" he said, his voice low, almost mocking. "You've been watching us for years, waiting to strike, thinking we were easy prey. Well, you're wrong." Takara's eyes flickered with the ghost of a challenge. "You think you can hide from us forever?" she demanded, her reptilian form exuding the authority she had earned through decades of war. "You've been silent long enough. Tell me how you've been doing it." Hale didn't flinch. He turned to one of the other humans, a woman with short cropped hair and a tactical vest, and nodded. She stepped forward, activating a nearby console. The screen lit up with a series of complex schematics, blueprints of global networks, deep space satellites, and a web of encrypted communications. As the image unfolded, it became clear that humanity had been doing something far beyond simple camouflage. "What you're seeing here, the woman, Lieutenant Miotaurs, explained, is the culmination of decades of research and preparation. The moment we discovered we weren't alone in the galaxy, the world's leaders knew we had to act fast. Earth's defense systems, our military, our tech, our very infrastructure, was designed to be hidden. Everything from power grids to communication satellites was rigged to be virtually undetectable by alien sensors." Takara studied the diagrams, trying to make sense of it all. "You've been blocking us from the inside?" she asked, her tone betraying a mixture of admiration and suspicion. Torres nodded grimly. "Not just blocking. We've been using quantum encryption to mask all of Earth's electromagnetic signals. Not a single human communication has reached beyond our atmosphere since Project Eclipse was initiated." "And the people?" Takara asked. "Where are the rest of Earth's population? Why are you hiding down here?" Hale's expression darkened, his gaze turning distant. "We didn't just hide from you. We hid from ourselves. Project Eclipse wasn't just about protecting us from alien invaders. It was a global initiative to protect humanity from humanity. The world's leaders, back in the early 1980s, learned that there were far worse threats than alien conquest. The real danger came from within." Takara's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" Hale exchanged a glance with Torres, then met Takara's stare. "There's a reason we've been silent. Earth's governments, back when they were still functional, discovered something they didn't want anyone else to know. We found out there was a deeper, more dangerous force in the universe, one that would have used humanity as a pawn in their own galactic games. You might think you're the biggest threat, but you're not." The words hung in the air, loaded with an unspoken menace. The humans' silence was not only to protect themselves from alien invaders, it was to prevent something else, something far more dangerous, from finding them. Kara felt the first stirrings of doubt. Could there be someone else out there, waiting in the dark? Something more terrifying than the galactic empires that had watched Earth for centuries. Before she could voice the question, Hale's voice cut through her thoughts again. "You're not the first ones to find Earth, and you won't be the last. But we won't let you take us. Not without a fight." Kara stepped back, her mind racing. The pieces were falling into place, but the picture was incomplete. The alien coalition had assumed that Earth was a primitive, unsuspecting planet, a world ripe for conquest. Now, they were learning that humanity had been preparing for an unknown enemy for longer than they could have imagined. And that wasn't the only surprise. There was something even darker lurking out there, something that had been pushing humanity to build their defenses, to disappear from the galaxy's radar. What exactly have you been hiding from us? Takara finally asked, the weight of the question pressing down on her. Hale met her gaze with cold, unflinching eyes. We've been hiding from them. This continuation unravels more of humanity's secret preparation, hinting at even darker forces lurking in the shadows of the galaxy. The tension grows as the story introduces a new, unknown threat, adding another layer of mystery. Let me know if you'd like to explore anything further or adjust the direction. Takara stared at Lieutenant Hale, her mind spinning with the implications of what he had just revealed. Something else had been lurking in the shadows, something far worse than the alien fleets she had led to Earth's doorstep. But what could it be? And why had the humans gone to such lengths to hide? For a long moment, the room fell silent, the only sound the hum of the facility's power systems. Takara's team exchanged uneasy glances. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory, expecting a world that could be easily overrun and subdued. Instead, they had encountered a species prepared for war, with technology far beyond what their surveillance had suggested. Worse still, they had learned of an unknown, potentially far more dangerous enemy than they had bargained for. Takara was the first to speak, her voice cold and sharp. This is not the mission we were given. We were ordered to observe and report. Now we find that Earth is not only prepared for us, but is hiding something from the rest of the galaxy. The question is, why? Hale's lips twisted into a grim smile, though his eyes held a flicker of something darker. Because we know what's out there, and you won't stop it. No one will. Takara's instincts flared. She knew there was more he wasn't saying, but the silence hung thick, as if Hale was waiting for something. Just then, the voice of the Quothi ambassador, Varilo, broke in, calm but urgent. Commander, we need to reassess. The Ex-Lythar want to engage. They believe we have the upper hand and can push Earth into submission. But this is not a simple invasion. The tension in the room shifted. The Ex-Lythar, the most aggressive faction in the Alliance, had been the most vocal about taking immediate action against Earth. Their ships, larger and more menacing than any other species in the coalition, were already preparing for a full-scale assault. Takara had tried to hold them back, but their impatience was palpable. Varilo continued, his voice low, but filled with reason. The Quothi believe that this other force is far more significant than we realize. If humanity has hidden from us and taken such drastic measures, there must be something that terrifies them more than any alien fleet. If we attack now, we might trigger a much larger conflict than we can handle. Takara took a slow breath. Her mind raced as she considered the options. The Ex-Lythar were right in one respect. Earth was a potential prize, resources, technology, a vulnerable species that had clearly underestimated the power of a united galaxy. But something about this new information didn't sit right with her. The humans were not the simple prey they had assumed. Perhaps we should hold off on the invasion, she said finally, her voice cutting through the room with cold logic. Let us investigate further. There's something deeper at play here, and I want answers before we act. She turned back to Hale, locking eyes with the human. Tell me more. What exactly have you been hiding from us? What is out there? Hale remained unmoving, his gaze intense. You'll learn soon enough. But I warn you, once you know, there's no going back. The galaxy will never be the same. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. As Tikara processed his warning, she felt the weight of their situation more keenly than ever. The humans were a far more complicated puzzle than she had thought, and the knowledge they held, knowledge of a threat beyond the stars, was something the alien alliance could no longer ignore. She turned to her officers, giving the order to regroup and analyze the data. Prepare the fleet for further reconnaissance. We're not making any moves until we understand exactly what we're up against. We are no longer just dealing with Earth's defenses. We are dealing with something much bigger. In the distance, the HFY ships rumbled ominously, their war drums beating. But in Tikara's mind, a new sense of urgency had taken root. The true enemy had yet to reveal itself, but whatever it was clear that Earth's silence had been a warning, and the galaxy was in far more danger than anyone had imagined. This part amplifies the tension between the alien factions as they debate their course of action. It sets the stage for the growing realization that something much more dangerous lurks beyond Earth, leaving the characters and the reader with a sense of looming dread. Let me know what you think. The days following Tikara's decision to pause the invasion were tense. The fleet, poised for an all-out assault on Earth, remained in orbit, but their commanders were growing increasingly restless. The HFY were particularly vocal, their warships thundering through the void, itching for a reason to strike. But Tikara held her ground, her mind consumed with the mystery of what the humans were hiding. As she sat in the command center of her flagship, the war room's holographic displays flickered with information. Satellite scans of Earth, decrypted human transmissions, and data from the hidden facility under Denver filled the screens. Each piece of the puzzle revealed something new, something unsettling. "We're running out of time," Varilo, the Quothi ambassador, said, his elongated fingers moving over the controls with precise elegance. "The longer we delay, the more likely it is that the HFY will take matters into their own hands. You've seen their reports. They believe Earth is ripe for the taking. They don't understand why we're hesitating." Tikara's reptilian gaze was fixed on the data stream. The human data they had recovered from the facility, encoded transmissions, declassified military files, and old government records, painted a terrifying picture. The humans had known about the true threat from the stars long before their first contact with the aliens, and they had been preparing for it in secret. "I know," Tikara replied, her voice steady, "but there's something we're missing, something they're not telling us." She glanced toward the officers gathered around her, her mind racing. The more she dug into Earth's history, the more she saw the patterns. Government secrecy, global isolation tactics, strange disappearances, and the sudden silence in Earth's communications network. The humans had been preparing for something, but what? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sharp ping from her comms system. A new report had come in from the ground team, specifically from Hale and Taurus. Tikara activated the hololink, and Hale's grim face appeared on the screen. "Commander," he said, his voice strained, "we've made a discovery. You need to see this." "Go ahead," Tikara replied, her pulse quickening. This was the moment. She felt it. The holo display shifted, showing an underground facility much deeper than the one they had already explored. It was not a military bunker or a government facility. It was a research complex. Large, sprawling, and equipped with technology that shouldn't have existed on Earth at the time. The architecture was strange, foreign, alien even. There were signs of energy readings far beyond anything Earth's primitive science could produce. "We've traced this facility to a point of origin far older than the humans' records suggest," Hale continued. "We found artifacts. It looks like they've been studying something that wasn't of their making. It's not just technology, it's an engine, Commander. A machine that could alter reality itself. It's clear that humanity's silence wasn't just to hide from you, it was to hide from them. Tikara's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean, them? Hale's face grew darker. The others, the ones who built this. The ones who are coming. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Tikara in stunned silence. The room around her seemed to blur as she processed the words. Humanity hadn't just hidden from the alien alliance. They had been hiding from something far worse, a force with the power to bend reality. The pieces were beginning to fall into place, but the bigger question loomed. Who were the humans really hiding from? We need to get to that facility, Tikara said, her voice cold with determination. Prepare the team. We'll go down ourselves. Varrelo's gaze sharpened. Commander, we're dealing with something much larger than just a human conspiracy. If what Hale is saying is true, if Earth is the site of something that could alter the balance of the galaxy, then we have no choice but to confront it. And we need to know what we're facing before we make our next move. Tikara nodded. There was no turning back now. The war against Earth might have been put on hold, but a new battle was just beginning. One that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. This part ramps up the tension, revealing that humanity's silence is tied to something far more sinister, a force capable of manipulating reality. Tikara and the Alien Alliance now face the prospect of dealing with this unknown threat, setting the stage for the next phase of the story. Let me know if you want further adjustments or more details. Tikara's warship descended through the atmosphere, its engines rumbling softly as it cut through the dense clouds. The landing site was on the outskirts of Denver, the last known coordinates of the secret research facility Hale had discovered. Below them, the city was a ghost town, its streets eerily still, as if the world had forgotten the hustle and hum of life. But Tikara knew better now. The silence wasn't just a passive absence, it was a shield, a deliberate choice. Our team disembarked, their boots crunching on the hard, barren earth as they approached the entrance of the facility. The air was thick with tension, each step a reminder that whatever they were about to uncover could change the course of galactic history. The underground lab was even more extensive than they had anticipated. A series of narrow corridors led them deeper into the complex, the walls lined with strange artifacts and symbols they couldn't decipher. Tikara's officers were on edge, the alien technology here unlike anything they had seen before. It was as if Earth had been playing with forces they barely understood, or perhaps, worse yet, had uncovered a force far older than their entire species. Finally, they arrived at a massive chamber deep beneath the ground. The walls were lined with strange glowing runes, and in the center of the room stood a massive machine, an enormous alien-looking engine suspended in a web of electromagnetic energy. Its surface was covered in intricate carvings, some familiar, others not, pulsating faintly with a light that seemed to move with an unnatural rhythm. This is what they'd been hiding? Varrelo asked, his voice a low whisper. The Kothi ambassador stood at the threshold of the chamber, visibly uneasy. Hale and Torres stood off to the side, their faces pale, their expressions tight with the burden of what they knew. Hale met Tikara's eyes. This is it. The engine, whatever it is. We don't fully understand it, but we've been studying it for years. It's not just a machine, it's a doorway, a portal. A portal to where? Tikara demanded, her voice clipped. Torres stepped forward, her eyes locked on the pulsing energy that surrounded the device. We don't know, she said quietly. At first, we thought it was some kind of weapon, a tool for galactic expansion. But the more we studied it, the more we realized it's something else. The device doesn't just transport matter. It warps reality, time, space, even consciousness itself. The realization hit Tikara like a blow to the chest. The power this device represented was beyond anything she had ever encountered. It was no longer just about Earth's defenses or humanity's readiness for an alien invasion. They had been hiding something far more terrifying, a force that could reshape the very fabric of existence. And now it was in the hands of a species that had only barely begun to understand it. There were rumors, Hale continued, his voice heavy with regret, that the device was part of an ancient alien race, one that had mastered the ability to manipulate the universe itself. The truth is, we don't know who built it, or why it ended up on Earth. But we know that they, the ones the humans have been hiding from, will stop at nothing to claim it. A chill ran down Tikara's spine. The humans' fear wasn't just of alien invaders. This was something older, something that had lain dormant for eons, waiting for the right moment to awaken. "We need to shut it down," Tikara said, her voice firm, the weight of command settling on her shoulders. "If this thing is what we think it is, we can't afford to let anyone, anything, use it." But as she turned to issue orders, the room began to shake. The walls groaned, and a deep, resonant hum filled the air, emanating from the portal at the center of the room. Torres's face went pale. "It's activated." Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber, faint at first, then growing louder. A low, guttural whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. "You should never have come." Kara froze. It was a voice unlike any she had ever heard. Not human, not alien, but something deeper, something older. And it was filled with an unmistakable, all-consuming malice. The portal flared to life, casting an eerie light across the chamber. The air grew thick, charged with the power of an unseen force, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. Kara turned to her team, her eyes wide with realization. The true enemy had just made itself known. This part ramps up the tension as Tikara and her team uncover the full scope of the threat they're facing, a reality-warping force beyond their understanding. The revelation that the true enemy is already aware of their presence shifts the stakes dramatically, setting the stage for a confrontation that could reshape the galaxy itself. Let me know if you'd like to explore any details further or adjust the direction. The voice reverberated through the chamber, an unearthly sound that seemed to ripple through the very air. It was like the whisper of an ancient being, a creature that had existed long before the stars had burned bright in the heavens. The words hung in the air, suffused with a sense of cold, creeping dread. "You should never have come." Tikara's grip tightened on her blaster as the room grew colder, the energy from the portal pulsing with an intensity that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Every instinct in her alien mind screamed that this was no ordinary adversary. Whatever was coming through that portal, it wasn't bound by the rules of reality that she understood. "Everyone, get ready," she barked. Her voice cut through the rising panic, commanding her officers to fall into formation. Hale and Torres were already backing away from the portal, their faces pale, eyes wide with the terror of knowing what was coming. "We thought we could control it," Hale said, his voice cracking. "We thought we could use it to our advantage. But this thing, it's not just a weapon, it's a sentience. It's been waiting." The portal flared again, the ethereal glow spilling outward like a flood of liquid light. The shadows in the room twisted, the very walls bending as if reality itself was folding. And then, from the shifting light, something began to emerge, something that defied all logic, a shape that hovered just beyond comprehension. It was not a single entity, but an amalgamation of forms, part mist, part shadow, part nightmare. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, as though it existed in a place outside of time and space. Takara's breath caught in her throat. "What is that?" "This is what we've been hiding from," Taurus whispered. "It's them. The beings who built the machine. The ones who've been watching." The thing in the portal spoke again, but its voice was no longer just a whisper. It was everywhere. It filled their minds, a cold presence that seemed to invade their very thoughts. "You have no place here. You are insignificant insects. Your presence will be erased." Takara's eyes burned with fury. The sheer arrogance of the creature, of them, was almost maddening. But she wasn't about to let this force consume them. Not now. Not when they had come so far. "We can't fight it," Var-Relo shouted, his voice shaking with desperation. "Whatever it is, it's not bound by our weapons, our tactics. It's beyond anything we understand." "Then we'll make it understand," Takara growled, her voice filled with resolve. She turned to her team, her eyes fierce with determination. "Prepare to disable the machine. Now." But before they could act, the energy from the portal surged outward with a deafening hum. A wave of psychic force struck them like a physical blow, sending them sprawling backward, their minds flooded with horrific visions. Takara saw flashes of stars being swallowed, planets crumbling into nothingness, galaxies bending and distorting in the grip of an unknown power. Time itself twisted. Flashes of the past and future collided in chaotic bursts, threatening to tear her apart from the inside out. Through the agony, Takara fought to hold on to her focus. She had to shut down the portal. The power of the machine was too great, but if they didn't act now, Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, would fall under the control of this being, this force that had existed beyond the reach of all their understanding. With all the strength she could muster, she turned to Hale. "What can we do? How do we stop it?" Hale's face was twisted in fear and exhaustion, but there was a flicker of resolve behind his eyes. "The machine's not just a portal, it's a key. It's designed to open doors between worlds, but it's also a lock. If we overload it, if we force it to close, the beings trying to come through will be trapped." Takara nodded. "Do it. We'll cover you." Her team sprang into action. Taurus began to hack into the control systems, working quickly to disable the safety protocols, while Var-Relo and Takara prepared for the worst. The air was thick with the hum of power, and the walls trembled as the being from the portal screeched in fury. "You cannot stop what has already begun," it hissed. "You will all be erased. Your worlds, your species, all of you will be erased." With one final, desperate cry, Taurus slammed her hand down on a console. The machine convulsed, its hum reaching a deafening pitch. The portal flickered wildly, collapsing in on itself as the entire structure seemed to shake with energy. For a moment, Takara thought it might tear the planet apart. And then, with a blinding flash of light, the portal snapped shut. The silence that followed was deafening. The energy that had filled the room evaporated, leaving only the sound of laboured breathing and the distant crackling of fading electronics. Kara stood, panting, her heart racing in her chest. She glanced at the others. They were shaken, but alive. The machine, the portal, the terrifying force. It was gone. But something told her that the battle was far from over. "We've won this round," she said quietly, her voice steely. "But the war is just beginning." This concludes the story with a high-stakes battle against an unknown force, leaving the galaxy's fate hanging in the balance. The discovery of the true threat, beings with the power to manipulate reality, sets up a larger conflict that may extend far beyond Earth. The conclusion leaves room for further adventures, where the Alliance must face the consequences of this victory and prepare for whatever comes next. Let me know if you'd like to expand on anything.